Hello. Hi. This is my first time speaking in Poland, so I feel very privileged. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Kamila, and I work at Barclays. Barclays is one of the biggest banks in the UK, and I'm based in London for the last 10 years. About the transformation, yes, it's one of the biggest transformations in the world, and I've been involved in it for the last 6 years. And I just wanted to share some learnings with you. So a little bit about myself again. I've been based in London. I speak at different conferences. My real passion is mindfulness, as some of you know already. I also teach mindfulness on the side of that. These are the companies, some of the companies I worked at. I've been a little bit all over the place. Lived in India for some time, in Bangalore for 2 years as well. But this is not about me. The question to you is, how many of you have failed? Raise your hand. Great. How many of you celebrated failure? Yeah? Few. How many of you celebrated success? Raise your hand. Can you see a difference? Anything different here? Right, so we were talking about theory, about failure, and why we do need to learn how to fail. But now let's put it in practice. So we'll do an exercise to start with. We'll group in the groups of 4, and this exercise would go like this. I will go to my group of 4, and I would say, "Hi, my name is Kamila, and I have failed. I was too enthusiastic about Agile." And then what you are going to do, you would be clapping your hands. Yes? I know, it's weird. By the way, my sessions are going to take you out of comfort zone. I do, sorry. You can still, change the sessions if you wish to. So let's practice it together. I will go first. Hi, my name is Kamila, and I failed. I was too enthusiastic about Agile. Thank you. Perfect, you got it. So groups of 4, you have 5 minutes. Off you go. 5 minutes for the entire group, yes? And do it loudly, cheerfully, energy. Okay, 1 minute more. Last minute. Okay, as soon as you're finished. Great. I guess we are all done. And now, big applause for all of us. Well done. You can now close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. Close your eyes, all of you. And you can open your eyes. Why are we doing this? Tell me. To have fun? Yeah? What else? Why are we doing it? I have failed, yes? What else? Any ideas? To be present, yes? What else? To learn. Someone said learn. Yes? You kindly ask us to be. I know, I'm sorry. You can then bitch about me later. Okay, so, and again, how many of you have celebrated failure for the first time? Raise your hand if you have. First time. Exactly. So, we're speaking about this, about theory all the time. We've been talking about failure all the time, yet that many of us have never celebrated failure. And that's what I wanted to talk to you today, actually. It's about the failure and success of a big transformation. How many of you have seen this? HIPPO. What does it stand for? Highest paid personal opinion. Mm-hmm. So who is this person? Any idea? Just shout. Like Vice President. Yes, what else? CEO. Have you ever been in the situation when you're sitting in the room and all of you are looking at HIPPO in the room and waiting for this person's opinion? Have you ever been in this situation? Yes, exactly. Now, have you ever been this HIPPO to others? No. All of you said yes, really nicely, but then, no, it's not me. Yeah. So again, we're not going to exercise on that, but just food for thought. We do have these in our organization, and I'm sure you have them in your organizations as well. We have had some challenges. So again, coming back to Barclays, it's been a large transformation. We started about 6 years ago. We started as a kind of underground community of Agile practitioners. So at that time, yes, we were a religious movement, yes. But now it's not a religious movement anymore. We're possibly like official change program, although we don't like either. But we had HIPPOs in our organization. We had highly paid people who were telling others what to do. And the question to you is that if you are the HIPPO, or if you see the HIPPOs, don't we feel like we are using 19th century management techniques for 21st century problems? How many of you have heard of Taylorism? Yeah, would you share, please? You will now regret it.
Taylor was the guy who invented so-called scientific management. He was observing people loading boxes onto ships, I think.
Yeah.
In the harbor in New York.
Yeah. So he was really the whole point is that he was treating people as the machine, as resources. Yes. How many of you are still using resources word in your organization? Raise your hand. Do these resources have any feelings? Yes? No, they don't. Are they like tables? Are they like blocks? And Dave was speaking about it yesterday beautifully, that we are actually ecosystems. We are complex systems. We're not like eco-environments. We're not like systems, machinery, and so on. But yet, we still fail, and we still use 19th century management techniques for 21st century problems. And that was our problem at Barclays. We've been an organization who's been here for more than 150 years, and we have these problems as well. We've been actually using waterfall methodology. We've been using old school command and control techniques, and so on. And my question back is like, can we afford HIPPO anymore? What do you think? Yes? No? Just shout. Let's fire him. Well, maybe we are HIPPOs, right? So what do we do about them? Silence. Many of us are HIPPOs. Okay, so the message from my experience here is that we're not saying we're going to fire any HIPPOs. We are going to change how we work so that they can change. And at Barclays, that's what we've done. We haven't threatened anyone in the organization. We haven't said like, hey, project manager, you are not needed in our organization. No, that was not the message. All of us are needed. We are all going to go through it together. And this is a big transformation. So we changed how we worked. we change how we interact. Again, Dave was talking yesterday, which was really inspiring to me. He was saying that if you want to change a person, you need to change how the community or how the group of people is interacting. And that's more or less what we've been doing, really. But it's not been easy. I'm not telling you that. It's really been like years of adventures all the time. And we redesigned HIPPOs, we redesigned how we work together. And it was on the large scale, you know, it was huge scale, in fact. And we built a network. We didn't go for any frameworks as such, and I know safe practitioners, left practitioners, I'm sorry. But we had a higher level kind of guidance of we can do whatever you want, you're an empowered team. However, you need to build your own networks around yourself. Overall, together, we implemented that approach. So that's a discipline agile delivery, which is a framework in a way. But that approach has allowed us to have a lot of flexibilities. So many teams were using Scrum, others were using Kanban, others were not using anything. They were just experimenting, which is, again, fair enough. In that network, we also built a support network. How many of you has a person who is an Agile champion in your organization? Raise your hand if you do. Yeah, a few of you. What is the role of an Agile champion? Any idea? What's that? Teach. Yeah, what else? Show. What else? Promote. So what's the difference here between Agile champion as or a coach? Maybe in the small organizations there's none. Adam and I had a very interesting conversation about what's the difference between a Scrum Master and an Agile coach. Again, might be known. But at Barclays, how we work, we actually designed the organization as a network. We, top level, had a network of Agile champions. Agile champions are influential individuals in the organization. They're not Agile coaches. They're not delivery people on the ground. They're like senior leaders who are leading the organizations. And for example, each of the Agile champion will be aligned to the business unit of the organization at Barclays. And then these Agile champions, let's say if I'm an Agile champion of an investment bank, my responsibility would be to employ coaches to ensure that they are supported, to ensure, you know, PMO is going through transformation, that training is available, and all these things. So Agile Champion has been really leading the transformation locally, on the in the local area. On the top of that, we also had a central Agile team, which I've been a part of for a year. And the central Agile team was just inventing the strategies, really. I was not allowed to share any slides, I'm afraid, of Barclays because of the Barclays IP, but I can just describe it. And then that's how it's working still. You know, if you have a problem, go to your coach, local coach who is on the ground. Your local coach is actually with you. This person is running the training, coaching you on the ground, and being a Scrum Master at the beginning of the initiative. And then if you have a bigger problem, then you can escalate it to the Agile champion. Is that making sense so far? Okay, just shout out, what's the role of a coach in an organization? Silence. How many of you are Agile coaches here? Raise your hand, Agile coaches. Come on. One? Okay. Oh. Okay, so who is an Agile coach?
Someone who shows the options, learn how to change your behavior.
Yes, shows the option, teach how to teach behaviors. What else? Train others. Scrum Masters and so on. So, you know, at Barclays, about 4 years ago, our Chief Operations and Technology CEO, or whatever his official title was, I don't know, but he decided to go through a huge Agile transformation. And at that time, we deployed more than 100 of coaches. Yes, this is not new. 100 of coaches. And they were spread globally across the organizations. These coaches were reporting to the Agile champions. However, they were there on the ground. And now, again, coming back to discussion with Adam ahead, coach is not really the same as a Scrum Master, in my opinion here, because the coaches were not really playing the delivery role. There were Scrum Masters, and then they would change the teams continuously, so would kind of being dropped and then going to the other initiatives. How many of you have Agile coaches in, yes, some of you, or maybe that's not that popular yet in here. However, there's also an important bit because, oh yes, I'm sorry, how this is going? Yeah, so this Agile coach, we had a problem at Barclays because some of our coaches were like that, in a way. What is this picture showing? Next to people shouting loud, yes. So kind of army style, maybe a little bit. What else? Doesn't practice what he preaches. So we had this problem. In reality, I'm not lying to you, we had a big challenge. And the challenge here is that we brought 100 coaches, and they were external coaches, so they came as contractors. And they were like, maybe they were great practitioners at some point, but the problem we had, they were speaking about theory to them, right? So they were saying, in theory, it should look like that. Oh, it should be this. And that was a challenge because at the end, we started having fights across Agile coaches because they were fighting. Shall we use safe? Shall we use that? Shall we use less? You know, what do we do? And that was really hard at that time because I started seeing them as philosophy teachers rather than practice teachers. And my point is here that if you happen to be one of the coaches or if you happen to employ coaches, my lesson to you is like, if I was to do it again, I would just employ the coaches who are initially Scrum Masters. And these Scrum Masters are with the teams for maybe one sprint, 2 sprints, and then these Scrum Masters are moving to the other teams. Yes, you might call them Agile coaches, but at the same time, the model, which I would recommend following, is that the Scrum Master is with the team for the one sprint. The Scrum Master is showing how to. The Scrum Master is practicing on the ground. And then after that time, when, let's say, first sprint is over and others are watching the Scrum Master, at that time, the Scrum Master is then working with another person who is to be a Scrum Master, and this person is then the rotating Scrum Master. The second person is taking over. So that person who is taking over after the Agile coach is really to be a Scrum Master of the team. And this person can then watch the coach, what the coach is doing, how it's being done, how is the sprint planning being run, how is the retrospectives, and so on. And then after that, what I would really recommend is the coach to watch the team. And then at some point, and that's really hard for the coach really needs to start going back, right? So needs to start observing the team and start giving feedback. And the coach needs to be strong to give feedback. Honestly, amount of time we're giving bad feedback to people is just incredible. And I'm not saying bad, like developing feedback. But that's what my recommendation would be. If you're going through a large-scale transformation, start with small. Start with few Agile coaches, not 100, maybe 5. And then ensure they are Scrum Masters on the ground. And then once when they leave the teams, then the Scrum Masters are well-geared, well-equipped, and then they are moving to the other team and the other team. So it's kind of like rotation system. And that's what worked really well at Barclays. Do you have any questions about this? I don't like keeping the questions to the end, so it's kind of more informal here. Any of you is using any frameworks at your work environment? What frameworks are you using? Safe, okay, sure. Less, yeah? So about frameworks, we didn't go for any specific framework, but our teams, our departments are empowered to use safe or less. In Barclays America, they've been using safe. Many teams in the UK are using less as well. But to be very honest, I would leave it to the team. It doesn't matter, because to me, it's all common sense. It's like Scrum of Scrums, really. How many of you are familiarized with the controls any type of controls or any type of metrics might be in Agile environment. Have you used any of them? Yes? What are you using? Burn downs, yes. What else? Lead time. So using some metrics. And what about controls? Because Barclays is highly regulated system. And I know some of you are working in the banking industry, so you have similar challenges. But do you use SDLC, Software Delivery Lifecycle? Any of you? Silence. Normally there is silence when I talk about SDLC. So what is SDLC? Any idea? Yes, and why do we have SDLC? Why do we use it in different big organizations? Well, it was me, I will bin it, but... Just to put every steps in the right order. Yes, in the right order, so you have everything under control. So I don't know how it is in Poland, I've never worked in Poland, but in the UK, if the regulator or if the audit comes to you, you need to show them that you were following their process, right? And the problem which we had, however, in practice at Barclays is that we've been using old frameworks, SDLC, 5 control gates, loads of documentation, but yet our teams are becoming more agile and they want to release more often, whereas SDLC is taking 1 week of documentation to complete a release and pull people who had to do it. So that was the practical challenge we had on the ground. And what I wanted to show you is that don't be afraid of this topic. And I'm possibly talking to myself because I'm always afraid of this topic. What we've done at Barclays, we've introduced lean control process. We call it lean control process. It's a Barclays Agile change life cycle, really. And the lean control process has minimal amount of documentation. So it's not following traditional design and analyze and then develop, test and so on. It's actually following Agile approach, but yet it gives structure to Agile. So that LCP, lean control process, has been built based on that framework, Disciplined Agile Delivery. And we've actually we've been supporting teams to migrate to lean control process. So we're supporting them to do minimal documentation so they release as frequently as they can, but yet to follow some kind of controls. Because the problems that we have, and I think someone mentioned about it, is many agile teams are becoming fragile. Yes? Have you heard of that? Fragile? What does it mean? It's a song, yeah? Vulnerable, what else? Fragile, what does it mean? Not resistant. So it's for me, it's like fragile is kind of like behaving like, oh yes, we are agile. We don't do any documentation. Our user story with just one-liner, no acceptance criteria, nothing, because we are agile. We are so agile, we don't have to do that. Yes, so that's kind of fragile to me. Or like, yes, we are agile, but we don't have a continuous integration environment. We're all checking in on our own dev machines. That's very fragile to me. And there's been a lot of, some of you are laughing. So there's been a lot of that at Barclays. And unfortunately, we have to put controls around it. Either it's a technical wrong behavior, or if it's a wrong behavior, and we created that lean control process to put controls around that. And we created an internal tool which is supporting all of the releases in one place. So all of the company releases are just in one tool. And then, yes, they're communicating with the other tools, but we're actually just using that for the control, so for minimal documentation. Great. However, for me, the most important is really the cultural change. And I don't see myself as a process person. I see myself as a cultural change agent, because this is the biggest challenge. And again, here at Barclays, we had a lot of challenges. In fact, we have them all the time. And I can see differences. I can see like where we were 6 years ago, we had like pockets of excellence and pockets of empowered teams. At the moment, the teams are very empowered. They are like working together. We have, they really focus on the right attitude. The leaders are becoming servant leaders and so on. But it's a lot of work. It's a question of having daily conversations, daily feedback sessions and so on. And there is like hundreds of us now. Because do you remember when I was talking about Agile coaches, Agile champions? From the initial list of 10 champions, we started having sub-champions and sub-champions and so on. So now every team has a champion in the organization. And we have that many of us working together. And I just wanted to bring back to your attention that at the end, it's a cultural change. If your team doesn't want to use the CI environment, but it's there, well, it's a cultural change because you need to convince them to use that CI environment. Yeah, or if you don't want to collaborate, if you still have a stand-up meeting, but for the sake of stand-up meeting, because of the Scrum guide is saying so, again, we need to address that. So it's been a big, big transformation. The interesting point is that where we are seeing the bank going now is that we're moving more towards business. So IT is really finishing. The transformation is kind of, there's always so much to do, but it doesn't need coaching that much and doesn't need so much of championing. But really now we are moving to the different business areas. So our HR has started official transformation a few years ago, 2 years ago. Our audit is going through a transformation. So we actually have audit, we are now training our audit, we are training our people who are on the ground. We are creating auditors of the future at Barclays. So it's impressive how much we're seeing that's changing really on the cultural aspect. That's all from me. I'm leaving some time for the questions, I believe. Yes? Thank you.
We've got one question here. What's the difference between Agile champion and conscious manager?
It's none. In fact, if your conscious manager is having an agile mindset, this person can be an agile champion. The only difference here is that because we are a big bank, we needed to formalize the champion network. So we just had a list of champions, and if you work in this area of the bank, you can actually go to this person and have a chat with them and address your problems. So conscious manager or any manager can be an agile champion. Agile champion is not a full-time role at Barclays. It's more of like a role which is really influential, someone who's been there for years, and they can influence the organization.
Okay, so as we synchronize between the rooms, so now we're finishing. Kamila is with us.
There's another question.
Yeah, I know, but we have to synchronize between rooms. So thank you very much once again. Sorry.